All right, welcome back, you beautiful souls. This is, pardon me, my 2K special series 2. What if Naofumi had a solo leveling system? Now, a couple of things I want to say before this. Don't suggest any ships or anything because I have a story written around to where there's a particular interest. And also, this is going to be a different system than Jinwoo's system. It's basically the same thing, and he'll experience the same things, but unlike Jinwoo's, where if someone has bloodlust towards him, if he's in a city or is in a party with someone, he basically has to defend his party by any means. So effectively, he can just either release his bloodlust and cause them to back down, but if they attack him with the intent of actually killing him, there's nothing that can be done and a kill quest will pop up. So let's get into our story. Our story, it starts off like in canon for Shield Hero. And the difference between the canon world and this world is, just like in solo leveling, gates appear and there's different classes of awakened heroes, yada yada yada, just like in solo leveling. That being said, unbeknownst to everyone, and including Naofumi himself, he is someone who has awakened power. But the one downside to his awakened abilities is he kind of has to die first to get his powers. So, that being said, just like in canon, one day he finds a book at the library and he's reading through it, and then he transports to the world of the Shield Hero. Everything pretty much happens just like in canon until the day of the accusation. So our story really begins after the accusations, and particularly that night. Naofumi's walking through an alley at night, and he just feels a sharp pain in his stomach, and then a blade comes out of it, and he just hears, "Do you think doing that to the princess mine, you would be able to walk away from this? I don't care if you're a hero of legend. You should die for your sin." As the sword completely bursts through his chest, being pulled out. As Naofumi is laying there, bleeding out, and really, it's kind of a gruesome sight. And he just sees the person that has stabbed him, and he's pissed. Like, this pisses him off. And right before he dies, he has a weird experience. He pops up into a place, and he just hears a voice. It's like, "Do you want power? I can give you power. Do you want power? How about this?" And a notification pops up. And it reads, "Awaken or death. Do you accept becoming a player? Accept or decline. Accepting will awaken, declining will cause your death." So Naofumi's laying there and he's damning the world, cursing like the world. Then he thinks, it's like, no, I need to get home. And he clicks the accept. Well, Naofumi, he wakes up a few days later. And now he sees a window in his class screen for like the shield stuff. And it has a new tab. He clicks on it and the tab says new player / shield hero. Then a new window opens up. Daily quest: 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, 10-kilometer run. Time limit 24 hours. And the timer starts counting down. Now Fumi, he's not understanding like this. He just thinks it's part of it, and he's a little bit more cautious about people now. So he's like, God, I need to level more. This daily quest seems unimportant. So now Fumi ignores the quest. So he ignores the quest and he goes balloon hunting like in canon and herb collecting. Several hours later, he finishes off and he makes camp. Naofumi, he spends the night looking through all the menus and stuff, and he sees everything, and he goes to sleep. Several hours later, the next day, Naofumi is woken up by an alarm. As his eyes clear, he sees a notification: failure to complete daily quest, transporting to penalty zone in 20 seconds. 19, 18, 17. And now Fumi's scared. He's like, well, what? What's going on? What is this? After the countdown hits 0, he's teleported to a world of sand. And then a new quest notification pops up. Survive 3 hours. And time starts counting down. At that moment, a giant sand viper attacks Naofumi and hits him. Naofumi gets knocked back about 10 feet, and Naofumi is winded by this, and he looks at his status from the shield, and he notices that 65% of his health is gone. And he quickly thinks, wow, definitely can't take another one of those. So hours pass as Naofumi's dodging and running, avoiding any attacks, because this is extreme, even for the shield hero. And as he sees the timer counting down, 3, 2, 1, poof. Naofumi appears outside the town where he went to the penalty zone at. He has sand all over and in his head, and he makes his way through town. People are looking at him, and it's oh my God, it's the demon shield. He hears a couple of people whisper under their breath, and now Fumi is a little freaked out by this because this person is literally 10, 15 yards away from him, and he's hearing them quite clearly. So he heads to a tavern, and after a bath and a long nap, he gets up and he notices a notification he missed. Daily reward achieved. Status recovery. 3 stat points. Mystery box. He clicks accept the reward, and he's surprised. He gets this, a box appears. And then he also notices that all the wounds and stuff that he had were healed. And then he says 3 stat points. So he goes to he clicks on notification that says unspent stat points. And he brings up his window. He then sees another notification that reads stat points increased by 3. Due to completion of one-time penalty zone. Basically, he only gets this once, and he notices that it says status change of stats, 3 points. And he sees like all of his stat points that are listed raise up by 3. Then he notices that he has 3 unspent, and he's like thinking about like his experience in the weight zone, and then his own limitations. He's like, well, my defense is really high, so I'm gonna need. So he's sitting there thinking, and he's like, how about this? Like he puts 2 points into strength and 1 point into dexterity. And then he clicks it, and it reads, notification pops up, confirm stat point change, or decline stat point change. He then proceeds to click accept stat point change, and he notices that his strength raises up another additional. So I initially sat down and thought about this, and how I'm going to fuse these two and how they work with each other as far as leveling goes is kind of like a little bit of a D&D leveling type of system, but of how they work together. And with that being said, I took it as like 5 to 7 is average. So all of Naofumi's stats, I want to say, are on the low end, so they're all at 5. So with the 3 points that they got from the one time only for completing a penalty zone as a hidden reward, he now has 8 in all of his stats. Then he puts 2 into strength and 1 into dexterity or agility, and he can immediately feel the difference. So now Fumi's strength will be 10, and his dex is 9, and everything else is at 8. So Naofumi, he's feeling really great, but then his stomach starts to growl. So he heads down to like the tavern to get something to eat and to thing. While he's sitting there, 3 guys approach him, just like in canon. But I'm gonna say this is probably a half day long, or another day longer than in canon. And you'll know why pretty soon. So just like in canon, Naofumi, he sees right through these guys' BS, even more so now, because he's thinking a little bit more clearly and everything, and he's like, sure, whatever. And then they agree, like in canon, and then they try to rob Naofumi in the alley. Just like in canon, Naofumi scares them off when he releases a little bit of his own bloodlust for kind of scaring the daylights out of them, making them piss their pants. And the little warning symbol that he was seeing kind of disappears, and he's like, And just like in canon, this is when the slave trader is is there, and he brings him there, shows him his best, and then he hears like some whimpering. And when Naofumi turns around, he sees Raftalia, and she's coughing, and she coughs again, and she coughs up a little blood. And the slave trader says, oh, you probably don't want that one. It should die soon. But, and then Naofumi just pulls out a bag and throws it to the man. And he's like, I'll take this one. 30 silver should be suffice, as he tosses the bag to the man. And the slave trader's like, are you sure? Are you sure, valued customer? This one will die pretty soon. And Naofumi says, well, that means she's cheap then. So he pays, they get the slave crest and viewed and everything. And he, like in canon, kind of grabs Raftalia and drags her along. They leave the city. And Naofumi, he's been kind of relaxing this day. Hasn't really done his daily quest yet. So yeah, this is going to cause some issues. So he spends the rest of the day collecting herbs and tells Raftalia to take, like, he kind of force feeds Raftalia the medicine because she's pretty much almost dead. So he kind of has to nurse her back to health because they are meeting like a day later than in canon. So as she's like kind of coming to and she's coming through, she looks up at Naofumi and Naofumi just kind of smirks at her. And it's like, well, you definitely have a fight to live inside of you, you little one. And as like he's doing this, like she gets up and she's like, what? Why did you waste such valuable medicine on me, master? And Naofumi then picks up the knife and goes to use it as a weapon. And Raftalia just sees sparks fly around like the hand. And Naofumi kind of drops it. He's like, that's why. All I have is defense. But with you, I can have someone attack for me. And he says, then he shoves like a bowl into her hands with a spoon and he says, eat this, you're gonna need your strength. As they're finishing up and Naofumi is packing things up before they turn in for the night, he sees a notification pop up and it says failure to do daily quest. Moving to penalty zone. And just like before, he is transported to the penalty zone. But before he can think or react to someone said vipers, he feels like a tug on his leg. And he looks down and he's like, wait, what? A new notification pops up. Protect party for 3 hours. Failure to do so will result in death of player. And this makes Naofumi kind of worried. And then all of a sudden a sand viper appears again and goes to attacking. Well, as soon as it attacks Naofumi notices that he only lost 20% of his health this time. But he's like, dang it, I've got to take care of someone else. So they spend the next 3 hours. Dodging, and Naofumi's knocking back a few of the lower end monsters, and they finally manage to survive the 3 hours. And a couple of notifications pop up. One being survival, protection of party completed. Bonus action survival, 3 hours completed. Transporting back. And poof, both Raftalia and Naofumi are transported back to where they were, and they notice that their camp has kind of been destroyed a little bit. And Naofumi's just thinking, it's like, crap. And then he looks at Raftalia, and unlike in canon, I'm going to say that Naofumi kind of sees he does see Raftalia has gotten a little bit bigger. And he says, well, at least we survived. And he's thinking, it's like, I thought nobody was able to go through me. And he's like, I've got to figure out that, but at least she's safe. And don't get me wrong, Naofumi, he doesn't care about Raftalia like he does in canon just yet. Doesn't mean that he won't. So an hour passes, and Naofumi finally managed to get Raftalia to get herself cleaned in the river, and he himself doing so on the other side of a bush. He then pulls out a cloak from like his item menu, and then he notices that there's another page in its shop, and he goes through and he's looking through and he's like, wow, all these weapons look amazing, but I can't use any of them. Then he sees like health potions, and then it says amount, and then he notices the amount that he has, and the amount that he has right now is only 1,000 gold. So he buys a couple of health potions, and he's like, yeah, these definitely probably can be useful at some point. And then he notices that there's a small dagger, nothing really important, and it's only like 50 gold, or 50 gold pieces, which is the currency of the solo leveling, and he purchases it, and he's able to pull it out, but then immediately drops it because of electricity, and he gets notification. Unassigned weapon, unable to use weapons due to shield mechanics. And Raftalia kind of comes over and picks it up, and she's like, Master, you dropped this. And Naofumi, he kind of thinks, like, so other people can use items that I get from this. And he's thinking about this, and Raftalia, like, he hears, like, her stomach growl, and he's like, well, let's go to town and get something to eat and a warm bed to sleep in. After that. So this gets into Naofumi's mind. Is like, I really hate getting sand in every single crack. I'm going to be doing those daily quests, so I never have to go back to that place. So they do, and Naofumi notices that after they get done eating, and the whole bit with Raftalia not saying anything and her stomach growling again, Naofumi orders a kid's meal, and she's just completely content with like all the good food she's having. He then gets a room, and the person kind of looks at him strange, and he's like, what? She's my slave. He still gets some dirty looks, but then afterwards, once he gets Raftalia in the bed, she kind of looks at him, and she's like, I've never done this before. And Naofumi just kind of throws a pillow at her and says, that's not what it is. You can sleep on the bed. I'll take the floor tonight. You're still recovering, and after the whole desert thing, you shouldn't be sleeping on the floor. So Naofumi pulls like his bedrolls and stuff out of his item menu, and by this time Naofumi has figured out more about the solo leveling, that he actually has an item storage, just like Sun Jin Woo had. But he hasn't figured out that the shield can auto-craft things like potions and stuff like that. And the solo leveling can do a similar function, just to a greater extent. So that being said, Raphtalia kind of dozes off finally, and Naofumi is just looking through like all of the abilities and stuff that he gained from that experience. And because he was hitting creatures and stuff with his shield so much, he sees that he unlocked a new skill called Shield Bash. And he's like, that's kind of useful. So he kind of slots that as a preferred skill. So he doesn't have to bring up his menu to actually use it. He can just slot specific skills just like you do in WoW on an action bar. So he'll use this. And Raphtalia begins to like turn over in her sleep and kind of screaming a little bit. Naofumi takes notice of this and kind of is able to calm her down, and the rest of the night goes on without anything. But partly through the night, he sees that he has unspent stat points, and then he notices that he didn't get the mystery box or the status recovery. And he only got stat points, but he didn't get bonus to all of his stats. So he's thinking, just like, wait a minute. So, yeah, definitely going to be doing the daily if all I can do that, and I'm not going to get that. So it's not even worth it. I can do all these exercises in like an hour or so. Is what he's thinking and everything. So he spends his stat points again, and this time he puts more points into his strength because he's thinking it's like, well, if I have a lot of strength and I use the shield for the shield bash skill, I can probably do a lot of damage. Is what he's thinking. And then he remembers that he got a mystery box the day before. And he opens it, and he has a key, and then it says like an additional 5 stat points. So he puts 2 more into his strength, and then kind of he puts the other 3 into the other stats that he hasn't put points into. So Naofumi finally drifts off to sleep, and when he wakes up in the morning, he can feel something nudged up against him. And he looks down, and Raphtalia's kind of curled up into a ball, like right next to his side. And he's like, idiot girl. And so with that, you beautiful souls, I'm going to end this part here. I know this one isn't as flamboyant or action-packed, but there's a lot to unpack with this series. This was Dark Palidin Risen, and many of you will probably be able to figure out what that means just from the title alone. Part 0B will have more action and more fighting. I had to go over just certain things to really get the story going. So in Dark Palidin Risen's Part 2, we'll have more fighting scenes, more of really diving into the bonuses and stat changes that Naofumi will be going throughout this entire series and where this could potentially lead. That being said, thank you guys so much again for the 2K subs. This has been part 2, has been my 2K sub series 2. That being said, like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know down below what you think about this, if you want Part 0B to come out or not. That being said, I will see you beautiful souls in the next video.